DA, Jess FM, the station that you know and love. I've been going on to the Facebook page and taking a look at what they have in store in Jess FM TV and all that. And it's a really neat community. I'm really enjoying my experience with that. Also, Southern Albertan Pagan Association has a web page.
We do have a web page now.
Right. There's on Wix, right?
On Wix.
Yeah, and there's also there's a community Facebook page that you can get involved with.
We have a Facebook page and we have a Facebook group. So if you want to join us and talk about other witchy things and get involved with the pagan community, you can follow us there and get lots of updates. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which is coming out in a couple of days here.
And what's the deadline for newsletter contributions?
Technically, the newsletter submissions are closed for this issue. However, we do need a lot of photography submissions because we're implementing this new calendar system where people are sending us their photography themed around each month, and we're doing our best to create the Southern Alberta Pagan Association calendar year. So that calendar will be available to the pagan community through our newsletter at first and hopefully independently later.
Absolutely. It'll be just like the fireman calendar, where except with a drastically different theme.
Come on, I want a pagan-esque fireman calendar. Yeah. Can you imagine the Sapa pinup collection?
Oh man, it'd be like UK goth, right?
All the body diversity.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
My goodness. So, we wanted to do kind of this time, instead of doing an interview, we're kind of looking at some of the pagan news and some of the hot stuff that's coming down the pike. I was wondering, what are the headlines today?
Let's see what our Facebook has to offer us. We have Witch in Need.
Oh, and who's putting on that Witch in Need? Because I've heard a lot about that.
Witch in Need is run by Inner City YYC, by the absolutely wonderful Jenna DeBeaudrop, I believe her name is.
Yeah, word up to Jenna. Wow. The stuff that I got the opportunity to meet Jenna recently, and the stuff that she's doing with Witches of Canada, with the Inner Circle YYC, it's just mind blowing.
And she's our new sponsor for the newsletter, so don't miss out on her ads. And we're going to be hitting her up later in February, I believe. So, Witches in Need is a charitable movement that Jenna has started to take care of people in the pagan community. So we're very, very eager to be associated with that and to help her out any way that we can.
Nice. Oh, I'm really excited about that Witches in Need. So what kinds of things does Jenna do for Witches in Need? Is it they get like a kind of like a, I don't know, a basket, some kind of any things that they need in case they're falling on hard times or something like that.
Let's see here. Over the Yule season, with the help of the community, Jenna was able to provide 2 different people with care packages. They are currently accepting donations to help a young mother of 3 get back on her feet. So, if I was a young mother of 3, I would be wanting, clothes because children grow like weeds. I would be looking for maybe food donations. Perhaps, something to help mom feel nice, maybe some bath salts to take the edge off at the end of the day. I'm really curious to see what we need for that. So we will make an effort to reach out to Jenna and ask what this family in particular needs so that our community can be reaching out across Alberta to help this person in need.
Okay, sounds good. Tell us a little bit more about Inner Circle. What do they do?
Inner Circle is, from my understanding, the online shop for all your witchy needs. In conjunction with Witch in Need fundraiser, they also have the Beltane Fairy Masquerade Ball in Calgary. And proceeds of the Beltane Ball go to Witch in Need and to the Alberta Spay and Neuter Task Force, which is a wonderful idea. You just have to, leave me all alone up here. Thank you, Liv. You just have to support spaying and neutering pets. I understand everybody loves babies, but it's important that street animals in particular are getting spayed and neutered and vaccinated so that they can have a healthy community in the wild as it gets in Calgary. But speaking of inner circle, we actually have something very exciting coming up on the 8th of February.
On the 8th of February, that's right. That's when the big road trip's taking place, eh?
SAPA is hitting the road for Magical Meanderings, which is being organized by the wonderful Liv. So we are going to all meet up at Chef Stella's really, really early in the morning. We're going to have a nice breakfast together, and then we're going to get into a car with a bunch of strange witches, and we are going to convoy across southern Alberta, hitting up all kinds of landmarks and partner shops, and just spending the day getting to meet new faces in the pagan community that we normally wouldn't have access to. So if you want to be a driver, you can hit us up on Facebook, and we will add you to our group, and we will find you some passengers. If you are a passenger, hit us up, and if you can, please make a contribution towards gas, and then we are all going to hit the road together and spend a full 12-hour day out on the town in southern and central Alberta.
Oh, that'll be so fun, because it is Southern Albertan Pagan Association. So basically it's all about uniting everything that's going on in Southern Alberta. It's not just Lethbridge, it's not just Calgary. These are the city centers, I suppose, but it's definitely far-reaching, and getting into a car with a stranger, which is always a good idea.
That's how I got so close as I am with Leif, because we went on this little excursion to Mystic Rebel, and little excursion to Mystic Rebel turned into, oh my gosh, guys, do we have any jumper cables? We have to go to Calgary now.
Oh my goodness.
So
yeah,
we're going to hit up Mystic Rebel again, and we know that 45-minute stop is not going to be 45 minutes. I'm so excited for that. So we're going to go to Mystic Rebel. We're going to go to the Stonehenge of Alberta.
And what's that one called?
Let's
Majorville, I think.
Take a look.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about. Okay? Just getting into the discussion tip. Is it proper to call it Stonehenge of Alberta?
See, I don't think so. This is, the title on the headline as we were looking into the news is the Stonehenge of Alberta, but this is a location that is sacred to the land that we are on, and my understanding is that it is actually older than Stonehenge. Right,
and probably even comes from a very different culture, very different people, very different circumstances, and perhaps different reasons for existing, right? But the big headline, of course, says, Stonehenge of Alberta, come and visit.
That's a very good radio voice, by the way.
Right. Hello and welcome. Next time. Hey.
So we have the road trip coming up. We also have Pagan Pages, which is Livia's book group. In the near future, we are looking into this starting of a discussion group. That one, we're going to give a little bit of time for Pagan Pages to get started, just so that we don't have the group that talks about mythology and the group that is talking about, at the moment, Mists of Avalon on similar dates and getting confusing. So we're going to give Pagan Pages a little time to get established, and then we're going to start deep diving into some of the meaty lore and theory around magical practice, which I'm so excited about. You can tell it's my baby.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. What's your experience? Because I haven't actually gotten to know the reasons that you've gotten into this association and everything.
So I was raised by a pair of agnostics who loathed anything to do with the church. I got involved with Christianity very young. My parents needed a place to put me on Saturday morning. Kids Alive was there for me. And funny enough, the building Kids Alive used to be held in is now the building I work in. It's been converted into the Dr. Foster James Penny building.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
I realized that the place that I got saved and the place that I now am completing this internship that has become so vital to my work process are the same building. I don't know how to feel about that.
I want to just go in there with a spectrometer, and find out what's going on there.
Oh my
I wonder if
gosh.
we could bring a spirit medium in there.
That explains the visit from Hermes today. So
Okay, there you go.
Hermes was super into my work today and just was like, hey, instead of, filing that report, you could come fly with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I became Christian in like 2005-ish, and that was my path for a good 7 years, and then I started falling away from it a little bit, and then I started getting angry about Christianity, and I won't go into that now, that's not why I'm here, but I came out as genderqueer. I completely revamped my identity, and I said, you know what, I want to go in completely the opposite direction, let's become a witch. So, not the best motives at first, but I came to the first Pagan Fest and completely dropped all of my shielding because I had this belief that I was confronting things I had believed to be satanic, and now my understanding of all of that has completely changed. But it turns out when you drop all of your shields, you get energy sick. So don't do that. Expose yourself slowly and get to know your limits.
Words to the wise.
So through a lot of exploring and a lot of reading, I have become what's affectionately known as a technomancer.
Okay.
This is my Book of Shadows, my phone. So all of my sigils are in here, a lot of my spell work is in here, and then if it's something that I've written myself, it tends to go down on paper. I am a polytheistic pagan. I praise many, many gods. I'm primarily Hellenic with a touch of Satanist here and there. So my path is very, very mixed.
Yeah.
And I am head over heels in love with Hecate. Ares has been a huge father figure to me. I had a long-standing misunderstanding with Thor for a while, and he's finally forgiven me for that, so thank you very, very much. So that's kind of the journey that my path has taken, and it's just led me to craving substance and connection in the magical community, because there are things I miss about being in a church. I miss, energy work where everything builds and builds and builds, and you get these epic soundtracks and these emotional moments, and they're orchestrated to be like that. But it's still something that I would love to see a new take on in the pagan community. I would love to see moments where we're unafraid to cast circles and to really delve into magic together. And because we all come from such different streams, it's going to be something beautiful.
Absolutely. No, I would agree with that. And having that sort of diversity of beliefs, as there has always been throughout time, throughout the world, every part of the globe has had a diversity, a spectrum of different beliefs and different understandings of the world and the spiritual world, right? And different ways that people connect with it. I think that, so you mentioned getting into this new religion of the sort of Christian religion, which is, I don't know, it's been around for a few centuries, I guess. I mean, in its current form, it hasn't been around for so long. It's kind of new on the scene. And I think it draws a lot of popularity. People talk about it a lot. A lot of people identify with it. There are charismatics who do very magical things in church, who, there are definitely some very lively expressions of faith. And I just wonder, do you think that other pagan paths will ever get to that level where they're conducting services that are as lively and charismatic and evangelical as you see the modern faiths doing?
I absolutely think so. What I have encountered in the pagan community is that a lot of us fall under the queer umbrella. A lot of us come from marginalized communities. You get a lot of punks, you get a lot of people of color, and we are exciting people to be around. I don't think that it's unfair to say that things are going to grow as we come out of the closet and find a more societally acceptable place for ourselves. And I am absolutely willing to carve that place out myself.
Oh, that's great. And just being true to yourself, too, is kind of a neat thing, because we're not like, I don't talk to a lot of pagans who are practicing exactly what was practiced 3,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago or something like that. Some people have, like you mentioned, being a technomancer. That's a very new thing, right? You know, mind you, technology has been around for a very long time. You know, I think of the fashion craze known as steampunk.
Yes.
You know, where it's all about having, you know, levers and bells and pulleys and stuff. Maybe those were our technomancers of 1910.
And you also have people, I have a friend in the community who is a ghost hunter. A lot of her work revolves around using equipment like EMF radios.
Oh, yeah.
That came out entirely incorrectly, but that's okay.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
So technology is very important to some witches, and for other pagans, it's important to step back and take a more naturalistic approach. And that is wonderful. I love days where I completely disconnect from all of my technology, leave my phone, and go into the woods to decompose for a few days. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I just want to dig myself a hole.
And talking about Christianity and magic, we, in a couple of weeks, are looking to delve into Abrahamic faiths and paganism, so crossover between worlds.
I find that interesting, and it's something that not a lot of people talk about, because you look at the Kabbalah, you look at Sufi mysticism, which is in its own right very Abrahamic. You take a look at alchemy. Definitely uses that very God-focused, Christ-focused language, at least. And you wonder, wow, okay, so magic exists in kind of all rooms. Everyone has the potential to be a witch or a sorcerer or something like that. It all depends on how much direct connection they have to this current of power that they've discovered, right?
My gosh, my parents used to say that I was too Christian for them when I would come home speaking in tongues and prophesying. And now I do the same thing as a witch, and my parents are over in the Christian church now, ironically, and they're very closed about it. They want to have that personal connection without getting into the charismatic. So really the thing is that I'm the charismatic and the outgoing and the energetic who wants to share my faith with absolutely everybody, and they're looking for a more personal experience, which is, you know, pretty cool. But in a couple of weeks we're really going to touch on at least my views on Christianity and witchcraft, because it's more complicated than simply saying that witchcraft is from the devil.
Absolutely, and there are crossovers too into psychology and mental health as well.
Oh yes, that's going to be good.
Because there are a lot of items that that you could say are more in the psychological category than perhaps in the religious category, right? I mean, you take a look at Jungian archetypes and how we've mapped out the human consciousness to have an obvious and natural belief towards things that are simply component structures of the way that we think and experience reality. I mean, that's fascinating. What does it mean when someone is kind of pushes away from that charismatic and very sort of magical realm? What does it mean when someone wants to accept a more mundane and more sort of closed off view? And then on the flip side, how far is too far? Because you know, a person could get really jazzed on something and really feel like they're experiencing these amazing things. You know, I've talked to people who are really into angels. You know, angels are like their thing, and feel that angels are talking to them and that sort of thing. And I'm definitely not one to shut down that conversation. I think that it's great. But I feel like there's a certain consciousness that's going to ask, okay, but what are those angels telling you? Because
I'm the same way. Anytime that a new guide comes into my life, anytime that a new spirit approaches me, I'm just like, are you legit Persephone this time, or are you gonna be creepy? So
you don't want a creepy Persephone. I think that's a universal value.
So I definitely come at this from an approach of safety first, and always realizing that your relationship with any entity outside of your body and inside of your body is based around consent. and you have the right to revoke consent at any time, just like with a human. So we're going to get into Abrahamic faiths and magic in a couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about all of these really interesting crossover points, but we just want to have a little more research on the ground first.
Absolutely. And speaking of research, let's take a look at some of the headlines.
Absolutely.
Because I know there was an article that came out recently, and I don't want to pay too much attention to this, but someone tried being a witch for a week.
I spent a week becoming a witch, and the results were worrying.
Yeah. I don't know, too much too soon, or
not enough grounding.
I would like to read an article. I was a Buddhist monk for 3 weeks. Because, no, you weren't a Buddhist monk for 3 weeks. Because when you think of it that way, it's like saying I was the Pope for 3 weeks. No, you weren't, though.
Attending Mass does not a Pope make.
There you go. Exactly. Like, okay, you think so, but it's more of a long-standing thing that a person has a history with, and there are certain things that shape your experience and that sort of thing, to just jump in. There was a book that came out years and years ago. I think it was called Living Biblically. Have you?
I haven't, but that sounds like a trip.
Oh, man. And, like, he goes around to pastors, rabbis, and all the different flavors of leader, and says, okay, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? I think, like, some of the sort of mainstay ones, you're not to shear your hair, and so he stopped shearing his hair. I think in Corinthians you're not to eat any meat at all, but then in Leviticus and Deuteronomy they're very specific about how you're supposed to eat or not eat, right? Lots of dietary laws. But then when it came down to, okay, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, so does this mean that I have to kill my neighbor? Because she's a Wiccan, so... And, like, he's really, like, going through the pages. Of course, any priest or rabbi would say,
that's illegal.
Don't do this, man.
I don't know if it's the same guy, but my pastor once did this sermon years and years ago when I was still Christian about taking things in the Old Testament and the New Testament too far. And it was this guy who tried to live by all the Old Testament laws for a year to ascertain if this was the superior way of his faith.
I think that's the one. Yeah, we're talking about the same one.
So his wife was so against this project because there's a lot to say about women and people with uteruses and periods.
Oh, dear.
During your period, did you know?
I don't want to know.
Leif, do you know where you're supposed to live? Outside the city. In the leper colony.
Oh, good. All right.
So... As our wonderful tech is going, Tabor.
Yep.
Tabor.
Yep.
So you're going to have to go live in Tabor for the week before your period, the week of your period, and the week after. So that's 3 weeks if your cycle's normal. And she's not allowed to sit on any stool that he sits on because she has made that stool unclean. So what she did was she went around the house and sat on every surface she could on her cycle just to ruin it. So he had this tiny little chair he had to carry around so he could sit somewhere clean, and she stole the stool.
I don't know who to feel more sorry for in that situation.
I'm so proud of her. This is my level of, like, aspiring to harmless pettiness.
I mean, the guy was just trying to write a book. I'm just saying.
I'm in your chair. I'm in your chair.
So, did I forget to wear pants today? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Woo! So yeah, that's a really fun experience on how literal do you take your source, and that can be applied to any faith. There's conversations about Norse practices that are supposedly, barbaric or, really awful practices.
We don't know if Blood Eagle was ever practiced.
Exactly.
The story, and okay, here's the way stories happened in the North, in you would tell a story to outdo the other person who told the story. All right?
Context.
So when somebody says, oh yeah, we just sacrificed a guy, the next person would be like, yeah, well, we sacrificed a guy by taking a knife and slitting him anus to throat and watching his lungs still breathe. It's amazing. You know, and you're doing that for the shock value. It's not like we're all sitting around and, oh man, I have to slit a person from anus to throat again. Oh, it's Tuesday. It's Blood Eagle Day. Oh, it's like Leg Day, right? Not again.
Can't we just skip Blood Eagle Day today? It's like a cheat day.
I know, right? As long as we only do it once a month, it's fine. We're running out of people, okay?
Yeah. So context is everything,
Context
and
is
always
everything.
assessing where your source comes from and what the actual intent is. Because sometimes the intent is for shock factor and sometimes it's just for fun.
That's fun. When you're sitting around the fire telling stories, that's what registers as fun, talking about how you sacrifice people, yeah.
You should see some of my messages to my co-author because I do a lot of writing, and that's exactly the kind of thing we do, is try to outdo each other with the shock factor.
With your dark sense of humor.
With our dark sense of humor.
Oh, man.
But speaking of the Norse, news headline,
What?
Nevada Guard soldier
Mm-hmm.
receives the okay to sport a Norse pagan beard. Now, Norse pagan beards, from what I understand, is like that full, glorious, braided thing.
Right, the one you put the beads in.
Oh, so beautiful.
I'm
It's my
waiting.
aesthetic.
I'm waiting.
Trimming.
Trimming,
is the
really?
secret to growth.
Because I've been doing a lot of trimming and I feel, I don't know.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there.
So, my understanding of the military from like my 10 years in cadets and all of the propaganda that I ingested that way is that you have to have your beard within certain dimensions or nothing at all, clean shaven. And you are given 4 weeks to get from scraggly to acceptable manliness.
Oh.
Otherwise you have to shave it off and start over.
Oh, no.
So this guy getting permission to wear this symbol of his faith is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I am here for people being able to express their religion visually, whether it's, you know, the hijab or nuns and their cowls or Norsemen and their wonderful bearded braids that remind me of dwarves and are just so aesthetic.
Yeah, no, they're very aesthetically pleasing, aren't they? Yeah, except when you eat, you get fish flecks.
Less aesthetic.
That's real, yeah. And when the food starts rotting, it's just not good.
Yummy. This is why the Norse were so hygienic, because you can't have rotten fish flakes when you, like, go out trading.
That was a headline probably more than a year ago. But actually the accounts of the Norse barbarians is, oh, they're so disgusting. They take showers every day. You know, it's... yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
They are known for carrying nose scissors to tweeze the hairs of their nose.
Well,
so
yeah, you know
if
what...
that doesn't say hygienic.
You know what Scandinavian nose hairs, they get really long. They get really long.
That's so cool.
I can attest to that.
So, coming up on our calendar, we just had Moonlight Movies this week. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Moonlight Movies. We ended up doing kind of a movie night that was a bit more fun than the last one, because the last one
Heavy.
actually had a graphic depiction of the Blood Eagle that I just spoke of, and a bunch of things that required caveats and discussions, and it was very serious.
I forgot the description of animal violence for Poor Liv. I'm sorry about the bear.
Oh yeah, the bear.
Are we going to talk about the bear?
Are we just not going to talk about the bear?
It's a bear. So this movie, we wanted to go a little more light. We're going to kind of alternate funny and serious and discussion versus I'm just here to eat popcorn, man.
So if you've ever seen it, Witches of Eastwick, it's not headline news or anything like that. I think it was in 1987, maybe.
I think it was 95.
95, really?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
never
But I
mind.
could be entirely barking up the wrong tree.
Okay, somebody fact check us and send it to I'm sure we have
If
so
you
many
send
comments
it to me
right
on
now.
Messenger, I will get it because I am.
Well, they
as
can
we've
comment
said.
on the video.
Oh yes, that's.
Yeah.
I should open that.
Yeah. Speaking of, we're probably halfway through by now. Eh?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Almost exactly.
Oh, fantastic. I just wanted to recap and say welcome to Sapa Speaks. Just if you're just joining in, we are the voice of the Southern Alberta Pagan Association. And we're live on Jess FM, Jess FM TV, jessfm.ca. And also Sapa is home to a Facebook page and group that you can absolutely type in Southern Alberta Pagan Association and find our page.
So we have some wonderful contributions from Livia in the chat. I heard guy, not guide, when you were talking about spirits. However, the point still stands. Consent is key, and we don't do creepy guys or guides.
No creepy guys, no creepy guides. I thought, isn't creepy what we do? Okay, just...
Okay, Becca has confirmed the time of the movie. It was released, wait for it, 1987.
It's a steel trap in here.
Yeah, so we do have somebody asking about Midsummer. If you would like to know more details about it, we can provide you with a link to view it. It's an amazing piece that talks about Scandinavian culture and mental health and our views on it, as well as a lot about culture shock. And just because it's barbaric here or acceptable here, what does that make it to another point of view? And are the things happening in this movie truly that horrific, or is that just the lens that we're viewing it through?
And just to be clear about providing a link to see the trailer. Yeah.
A link to see the trailer.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure
Exclusively.
that we're not peddling movies here. But yes, that's right. And it's interesting because different people have different views of it, and I've talked to some people who have some overwhelmingly negative views about the way that they portrayed the culture, because no culture in history has ever put that much research into how much Norse paganism they're going to shove into one little commune.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's that demonization tip. If on a first view of it, it might look like The Ritual. If you've ever seen The Ritual, where they carve runes on trees and there's this Kernunos demon thing in the forest.
Definitely not the Jotun that they claim it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, yeah.
Great movie, not great pagan sourcing.
Mm.
But we did talk about at this movie night, are we portrayed in media as demons because we're easy targets? Or is this just about making a good movie? Are we getting fair representation? And that was something that we really talked about. And, it brings up the question of shows like The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Because that very much takes a look at Satanism and witchcraft, which I hear a lot of people crying about how no witch ever has been ever Satanist. Well, hi. But, media is media. Media is here to exaggerate things, and yes, absolutely, we should be paying respect and homage to the things that we are taking as our source material. Sometimes a fantasy is just a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I always like to go into something, aware and with as much respect as I possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, and you can comment on it, and you can have discussions, and you can tease it out. There'll be some things that you like and some things that you don't. If it's a film that you truly have take issue with the way that anyone in heathenry is portrayed, I'll tell you now, none of the people in that Swedish commune were heathen types. None of them identified anywhere close to Azatru or anything like it. It was, I feel like it was just a bunch of gathering of research of gory tales, and that was kind of the point of it, was to put a ton of research into runes and stavs and old Swedish customs and that sort of thing, and also customs that are practiced to this day, and put it in a place divorced from mainland Sweden, because it's a commune. It's out in the middle of nowhere. There is no human being on earth who practices any of the stuff that they're practicing, as far as I know, because that would be in modern Sweden, that would be criminal. That you would face charges.
I love my cult movies. This is absolutely a cult movie.
Oh yeah, Wicker Man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Love me some Wicker Man.
Which might be on the list for Moonlight movies, which is where we started this conversation.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to do some light and then some heavy and some light and then some heavy with our movies. So Witches of Eastwick was just a chance to turn the brain off. Practical Magic, I believe, is one of the ones that we want to watch.
And Sandra Bullock.
That was such a good movie. I saw it for the first time at one of Liv's first movie nights a couple of months ago, and that was great. So that's going to be Moonlight movies. And then we have In Bulk coming up.
That is coming up. What day is it? It's on February the
8th.
Okay, that's the road trip, I think.
Oh, you're right.
The
no,
first.
It must be the first.
Yeah.
It must be.
That's coming up on the 1st. There's going to be just a nice light little gathering. I think somebody might do some of that Bridget stuff. Do you know about that Bridget stuff?
See, I'm not terribly familiar with anything in the Celtic. I understand that she has a little bit of that triple moon Hecate vibe going on, and that's my lady, so I get excited about anyone who's remotely analogous to her.
Interesting. And then there's a custom where you make the effigies of the Bridget, right? And put them in the basket and put little dresses on them. And,
oh, that's so cute.
The cute little doll stuff. Light some fires, light some torches to, all night you're honoring this this Bridget character. And then in Catholicism, we see it come up as the feast of, or the festival of Saint Bridget.
Yes.
Right?
She was absorbed by the Catholic Church as a saint, which we will get into in a couple of weeks. Love that. So we're trying to incorporate fire into all of our rituals and all of our festivals that we hold. Every time that we book a venue, it's like, okay, can we bring fire? Unfortunately, Casa, we couldn't bring fire, so we had simulated candles, which worked out well enough for the ritual that we were doing. Library books, not such a good idea. But In Bulk is going to be down in the coulees. We're going to put up signs for you in Indian Battle Park, and we are going to light a fire, and Sam is going to lead us in ritual. I love the rituals that Sam puts together. She led us in the Ancestor Workshop, and the connection that I felt was incredible. And she led us through this talk of, your ancestor pantheon. And I swear I got there, and there was my goddess, who I didn't know was Hecate at the time. I just knew her as my lady. And there was my grandmother and her husband, whom I had never met before. So, Grandpa Phil, hi, that was nice to meet you. And then in the corner, there's just this band of Irishmen playing a jig. And I'm like, who are you? And they're just like, playing the fiddle. And I loved it. So I'm excited to see what Sam has for us.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry, my assistant's just held up a text message that he received from local EMS and emergency response. We do not take every opportunity that we can to light fires. We do obey the municipal bylaws regarding responsible fire use. Yeah.
Absolutely. Responsible fire use as frequently as safe.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good. Wow. So what else do we have in the headlines? There was an interesting one by the way, I want to say a big thank you to Olivia for keeping us informed and doing a bunch of research. Oh, yeah, okay.
Our resident fire witch in the chat is just fire! Our chair Samantha will be on the show on the 30th to talk all things In Bulk. Liv is spamming the laugh chat. I love it. And then we see Carrie and we see Anna. Hi, we see you. So also in the news, we have...
right, the Amazon warrior women burial.
Oh, that looks so cool. I'm going to click on that.
Yeah, this is interesting because there are a bunch of things in the ancient world, and we got to take a look at it with Witches of Eastwick. Starts out with the sculptors who creates those goddess figures. And when you go back into history, you see that that farmers, in agrarian societies would create these goddess figures, these sort of stout, large people who would sit in the soil, and you'd have them sitting there creating that fertility and doing that enriching of the soil. What did it mean? Did it mean that there was a great veneration, that this was a goddess worship, or was it a superstition arrived at by the farmers in a similar way that mermaids were created by sailors?
There is a wonderful movement on Tumblr surrounding the goddess statue about self-love, because this statue is notorious for, or not notorious, famous for not having facial features and for having this almost veil across the eyes. And someone was asking, well, why is that? And so one of the people that I followed went into the mirror and took off their clothes and just took a picture looking down their body and said, it looks like me. It's a self-portrait of myself. So that's one take on it, is that it's venerating oneself as a goddess and really practicing self-love. So that's one thought on it. As for this Russian archaeology and Amazon warrior, let's see. Items were found buried with warrior women, including 30 iron arrowheads, 30 iron knives, unnumbered iron knives, sorry, as well as piece of horse harnesses, horse bridle hooks. 3 generations of ancient Amazon women warriors buried in a single tomb around 2,500 years ago in present-day Russia. They must have belonged, according to experts, to a nomadic people that dominated Eurasia called the Scythians. That makes me think Star Wars, but it's spelled like scythe. May have inspired the Amazons depicted in ancient Greece. Wow, that is really, really cool.
Wow.
Better stop sending me baby turtles. It's wonderful, but like, also Kelly, I see you.
Yeah, okay, wow, good. Well, and that's it for the Pagan News, I guess, and also the events that are coming up with SAPA and Inner Circle. Wow, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us and being with us here today. Was there anything that you want to close with today? What's something to watch out for with SAPA, something I should definitely attend coming up?
Ooh, I would say the Druid Workshop coming up with Jamie Hume. Jamie is hosting the workshop Saturday.
Right.
I keep saying tomorrow, but it's Thursday, y'all. Today is Thursday. So on Saturday, we are going to meet at the library after we have our newsletter meeting that I'm reminding myself about right now. So we're going to go make you a lovely newsletter, and then we're going to meet up with Jamie at the library, and she has a very extensive workshop planned for us. So it might even be like a 2-parter for how much content she has, depending on how talkative we are, which we are. So we might be asking Jamie to return with more content. And we've also confirmed the booking of another Crystals workshop, which was the hit event of last year.
Nice.
So Diani did an amazing job last year introducing everybody to crystals and vibrations and energy and how to cleanse and charge your crystals, that everybody was clamoring for another, and we have booked her many, many months in advance because we understand that she's a wonderfully busy woman, and we are going to make 2.0 happen. But I believe in order to take Crystals 202, you have to have taken a 101 class. So if you haven't taken Crystals 101, sign up for this one when we put the event on Facebook, and then we will get you signed up for 202, which is going to be really exciting.
Excellent. Wow, I can't wait. That's going to be a lot of fun. So this has been SAPA Speaks, the voice of the Southern Albertan Pagan Association. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me, Leif.